Hi Kiwi! Alright, we are back at another episode of Pokemon Shining Pearl. We're going to round out this Battle Cafe and then we'll move on to more of the main game, I suppose.
Let's start with a shot of drinks as it...
Oh, okay, I'm like, are they talking about alcohol here? No.
Let's start with a shot of the drinks as a camera test. Huh? You're inviting us to a battle at a time like this?
Yeah, let's go. Alright. Anyway, so in the last episode, I started gushing about the third Pokemon movie. You know, it's funny. We started that episode rambling about Pokemon Stadium 2 and ended on Pokemon movies that are kind of not quite into the Gen 3, but basically adjacent to it at that point. I think that movie came out just about when Gen 3 was starting or about to start. But, okay. Let's do some backtracking. Let's go back to talking about Gen 2 for a little bit, but we'll certainly have more commentary on my memories of the movies soon enough. But as far as Gen 2 goes, I kind of started talking about this in the last episode. My favorite Pokemon of Gen 2, hands down, was Ampharos. And I was so happy when it got a Mega Evolution later on that made it part Dragon type. I thought that was so cool. They just made it. It's funny because like you have Mareep, you have Laffy, and both of those are fluffy-esque sheep Pokemon. And then Ampharos is basically a shaved sheep. He has nothing. He has nothing on his body whatsoever. And then they're like, you know what? Let's make him as majestic as possible and give him this flowing mane of hair and give him Dragon typing and it's Mega, and I love it. I'm here for that. I thought that was so funny. And it looked pretty cool for what it's worth. Ugh, paralyzed. So paralysis in our Nuzlocke rules means that we can't switch out, just as a reminder. So that shouldn't matter though. This camera guy clearly, the reporter has no more Pokemon. The camera guy has one, but I can probably paralyze heal while Captain Squawk finishes the deal here. Anyway, what was I gonna say after that? Right. So Ampharos was my favorite design of all the Pokemon. Also big fan of Mischievous. I don't remember what it was called, but back in the day I had this little, it looked kind of like a GPS tracker or like, I don't know if you remember what the Pokenav looks like. I think it was a Gen 2 item. There was some sort of third-party Pokemon toy. You could hold it in the palm of your hand. You could even make it look like a bigger, like old cell phone. Like before they were smartphones, when they were like the flip phones, it kind of had the shape of a closed flip phone, and it had a spot in the center that you could plug little Pokemon figurines into, and at the end it had these little various peripherals that you could attach to it that had gym leaders or various enemies you could fight. Or wild Pokemon that you could encounter, I believe. And so it was this, I don't remember what it was called at all, but it was basically this third-party peripheral Pokemon, like Pokemon adjacent game toy that I had a Mischievous for that toy. I had a Dragonite. I forget what else I had, but I was super into that when it was still a thing. It was out around the time of e-readers, but this was its own thing altogether. I know it's a terrible description. I might have to try and find it in post and see if I can paint a better picture of what it looked like. But I used to love that toy. But it did give me, the reason why I bring it up is just because it made me like Mischievous even more than I used to. I forgot to voice these guys, but they're battle fodder. What is it? Oh man, our drinks are lukewarm now. What have you got to say after that?
Do you think we should rehearse this one more time? Today's featured drink is freshly squeezed.
Squeezed what? What did you squeeze? Lemons? Miltank? I want to know.
Oh dear, I wish you wouldn't. We're at a fancy restaurant and you want to analyze what's served? Oh, you're a trainer?
Yes. All right, here's our final battle of the cafe. We've been here for a while, Kiwi. Anyway, where was I? My goodness, I lose my train of thought so easily. Granted, for what it's worth, I slept pretty well. Just could have slept better, I suppose. All right, what other Pokemon did I love in Gen 2? So, like I said, I have specific memories for Mischievous, even though I never really used her back then. We won't talk about Miss Magiss just yet, but I love Miss Magiss. I mean, I'm a huge Ghost type stan. If I were a gym leader trainer, I would be a Ghost type trainer through and through. Oh man, there are so many good ghost types, but I digress. I don't think I have any direct threats from these guys, so we'll have Celesta Betha hit Stunky with Flame Wheel, and we'll bite this Kadabra. Anyway, the other big Pokemon that was a core member of my Gen 2 team was a female Raichu. Now, I was big into the anime at the time, and Richie was a character who was supposed to be basically like off-brand Ash. He was supposed to be basically a rival to Ash in the anime, aside from Gary Oak, of course, who shows up and has his own Pikachu. And I thought it was really cool. And his Pikachu actually had a nickname. It was rare. It's very rare that in the Pokemon anime, you see Pokemon have nicknames. And I think that's in part for product placement, because if people go searching for Sparky instead of Pikachu, granted everyone who plays Pokemon knows who Pikachu is. I mean, even people who don't play Pokemon know who Pikachu is at this point. Maybe back then less so. But he had a Pikachu named Sparky, and so my Raichu was female, and I felt, well, Sparky sounds too masculine, so how do I make this female? And I ended up naming the Raichu Sparkney. And I remember loving this Raichu so much. Hands down my favorite Pokemon. Used it in every competitive fight. Didn't understand that having maybe having two electric types on one team wasn't the most competitively viable, but you know, when you're a filthy casual playing Pokemon as a kid, what do you care about competitive viability? I mean, I didn't even get into competitive until Gen 4 after all. But that Raichu was my pride and joy, and Ampharos was like right there next to it. Those were the days, weren't they? And I remember also in Gen 2, I didn't understand how friendship values worked back then, so it's not, I think they removed it in the more recent iterations of Pokemon, but I failed to foresee this outcome.
You know, I had confidence before heading into this.
Well, goodbye confidence, I suppose. All right, we have finished the cafe.
Cheers, dear. Please don't start analyzing what we just drank.
All right, we have wiped out every trainer in this cafe. There's gonna be a lot of dialogue here, so I will try and sit on this story, or I'll finish the story real quick. So the Raichu that I had, like I said, I didn't really understand how friendship values work. Now, it's not really a thing anymore, but moves like Frustration and Return were in the game for a long time, and basically, the more you used your Pokemon, the more you had it fight in battles, the more items you used on it, that sort of thing would raise this hidden value that was considered called friendship, scaled from a rank of, I think, 0 to 250, if not negative 250 to positive 250.
Is that right, you're a traveler? Yes, it's good to see other places. Have you heard of the Whirl Islands in the Johto region? The silver-colored Pokemon. I must see that in my lifetime.
Anyway, so basically, I would constantly give my Raichu items. I would let it hold an item, which, because held items, having a Pokemon hold items gave it more friendship as well.
Let me gaze into your eyes. I will read your fortune. Destiny shall shift. Whether that bodes well or ill is beyond the scope of my sight.
I definitely read that wrong. Oh well.
Me, I'm just a simple soul. I let my guitar do all my talking. All I need is music and Pokemon. I can shine wherever I go if I have those things in my life.
We're a traveling troupe of...
That's the wrong voice for this guy.
We're a traveling troupe of street performers. In a place of formal introduction, please take these. Or in place of formal introduction, please take these.
TM92s.
Trick Room is a doozy of a weird move. Use it, and for a while afterward, the slowest Pokemon get to use their attack first. Bam! How you use Trick Room is up to you, trainer.
Trick Room is a super competitive, a very commonly used strategy in competitive Pokemon, because if you have a slow but hard-hitting Pokemon, and suddenly it becomes a very fast, hard-hitting Pokemon because Trick Room makes it go first, well, your opponents are in for a bad time. Anyway, so I remember very distinctly, I think I was fighting a wild Girafarig actually, but my Raichu was holding its magnet, and a random wild Pokemon, or maybe it was a trainer battle, I can't remember, whatever, this Pokemon had knockoff and knocked off my magnet, and in that time, your items didn't come back if that happened, so my magnet was gone forever.
Ciao. Oh,
Okay, game director. You know what? Let's do it.
Ciao, I'm the game director.
Nope, this is wrong. This is wrong.
You're working on filling our Pokédex, aren't you? It's awesome that you're going to meet lots of Pokémon. Come show me your Pokédex when you've filled it with tons of entries.
And what have you got to say, Mr.? Oh, you know what? I remember now. The lead designer of Pokemon says Gengar is his favorite Pokemon, so he's probably Mr. Matsuda, I think is his name, maybe? I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. Yup.
Hi there, it's me, the Gengar-loving director. Battling other trainers sure is exciting, isn't it? Keep building those bonds with your Pokemon so you can take on tougher trainers.
Slowly devolved into a British accent there, but it's fine. I love how the game devs are always in every Pokemon game, and they give you kind of endgame rewards for being a completionist about the series.
I'd rather be in a pool than the sea. The salty tang of the sea tastes like my tears after a hard day of work.
Well, get a saltwater pool. Those are great for you, so I've heard. Random pool guy, come on back here when you've defeated the champion. Don't forget about me here, okay? All right. I got some pee-pee up. Here's a bad joke about that being Viagra. I'm sorry, Kiwi, we won't talk about that anymore. You know, fun fact, Viagra, or sildenafil, is used as a cardiac medication that raises blood pressure in veterinary patients. I have a friend who has a dog and heart failure, and it needs to be on that medication, so fun fact. Bet you didn't know that. It is super expensive because of that, though, unfortunately.
This hotel is so romantic. I hope a night on a Pokemon will sweep me away for a honeymoon here.
Well, good luck with that.
Hello, you wish to stay the night? I'm afraid we are totally booked. You may rest a while if you wish.
Oh, I don't get a choice in this, so I guess we're using one of our Poké Center charges. So we are down to 2? I think we're down to 2 because we got a third one from beating the gym leader previously. Well, I'm not going to complain too much about that. We were hurting for having PP, so that's fine. Why did I go on a tangent about sildenafil here, Kiwi? I am so sorry. I am so sorry. We found a red shard. I do not remember what shards do, but I think they're associated with the underground a little bit.
I stand socially in front of a deep blue sea. Why? Because I'm a rich boy. The seaside suite suits me better than the sea.
He had like 5 different voices for a little bit there. No issues with that. Okay, thankfully we're coming up on a battle, presumably, but since we're on a beach, we're almost inevitably going to be fighting water-type Pokemon. So let's switch out Star Gecko so he can hit some things with Thunderbolt. All right, you swimmer kids, let's beat you up.
I can battle too.
Oh my goodness. Sometimes these voices are just ever so slightly cursed, and sometimes they're just mediocre. Rarely are they good, but sometimes they are. Aw, she kissed her Pokeball before she threw it. That's cute. I like that she has a bee barrel. I don't know why, but I do. Anyway, so first off, lamenting the loss of my Pokemon's Magnet. So Magnet, for context, was a held item that boosted all electric type moves by 10%. So not only was it valuable just for the damage it brought, it was valuable for raising friendship and for my personal connection to Sparkney, who I, again, just wanted to be best friends with as a kid, you know? As you do with your Pokemon. And so it got knocked off and never to be seen again, and I was so sad. And I didn't want to save scum it because I didn't understand how save scumming worked back then, so I just lost it. I was gone, and it was never coming back because there was only one in the game as far as I know.
I lost, and now I feel hungry.
And yeah, so that was Mark 1 of the sadness associated with Sparkney. Mark 2, we'll talk about in a second.
Isn't this nice? I love my inner tube.
That was a voice choice. Okay, so the other thing was I did not understand that there were items in the game that could actually lower friendship, despite the game pretty explicitly telling us your Pokemon hates the taste of this item, for example. And so I just understood that the herbal remedy type consumable items in this game heal more than anything else, or not heal more, are cheaper than the traditional medicine, for lack of a better descriptor, traditional medicine for Pokemons. Okay, good to know that Shellos is pretty tanky. I should have known that and not wasted a Water Pulse. I don't think, or not a Water Pulse, a Nightshade. I think at this point Nightshade is not going to one-shot anything. So we're just going to go ahead and Hex it, and that should finish it off. Or I guess I could have Nightshaded it. Oh well, no matter. Anyway, so I pretty much exclusively used energy root, basically energy herbs. I forget the actual names, but they were energy somethings, I'm pretty sure. They were meant to be herbal medicines that tasted awful and lowered your Pokemon's friendship value if they're used. The trade-off is, again, that they are cheaper for most, they are cheaper alternatives to the options typically sold at the Pokemart. I only saw the price difference. I did not understand the friendship drop. And I force-fed my Pokemon, quote-unquote, force-fed them, these items non-stop. So my Pokemon, when I would bring them to the Friendship Raider, which was an NPC that would look at your Pokemon and say how close you are, would never say my Pokemon loved me. And I was so frustrated by that as a kid, and I did not understand why that was the case. And now I do, and it's funny in hindsight and very sad for Kid Jeff to just always passionately love his Pokemon like pets, like friends, like members of the family, but force feed them the most detestably disgusting food because he wanted to help them and not understand that they hated it, despite the game again telling you explicitly Pokemon hate the flavor of these items.
I couldn't move very well because my inner tube was getting in the way.
Excuse me?
I couldn't move very well because my inner tube got in the way.
But that is the story of Sparkney. Those are the stories of Sparkney that I can remember, aside from just using her non-stop in every battle that I ever faced. Am I lost? I feel like I'm supposed to go somewhere. I'll have to hunt around. I might have to do a little bit of off-camera work if I can't find where we need to go. So you know what? I'm gonna pause here for a second, Kiwi, and then I'll pick back up once I figure out where the heck I'm supposed to go. Aha, okay. So there was a hidden little path on this beach side south of the hotel. I think I just missed that. Hopefully, yeah, okay, that looks like it'll lead to Route 213. Okay, we figured it out. We'll keep Star Gecko in front, but I'll heal him up. Anyway, so what else can I say? What other Pokemon were like core members of my team back in Gen 2? I honestly don't remember that well, other than Sparkney and Ampharos.
There's a fancy hotel and a fancy place with a fancy restaurant. The fancy restaurant's filled with fancy people who think themselves as being too fancy to battle alone.
All right, Mr. I don't like the fancy folk. Fair enough. All right. Place your bets, Kiwi. A full party of Magikarp and 1 Goldeen? What is this, like, sexy, eerie fish music? This is Okay, why is there like slow jazz sexy music playing to this fisherman? I'm a little upset by this, I guess.
Oh, I almost had that fish reeled in.
Well, let's not talk about that too much more. Anyway, so, I mean, I can talk about Gen 2 Pokemon that really stand out to me. Of course, the Red Gyarados plotline was so cool. So the idea, I believe, was that Team Rocket was researching evolution and forced a Magikarp to evolve, and that turned it into Red Gyarados, rather than it being just a generic shiny Magikarp that evolved into a shiny Gyarados. Oh, you know what? Here's a story I remember. I caught my first shiny Pokemon in Gen 2. It was a Smoochum found in the ice cave just east of the Rage Lake where you find the Red Gyarados. I don't really need to think too much about this, do I? I wonder if Nightshade one-shots Magikarp. I'm gonna try. Save our PP if I can, because Magikarp should in theory know Tackle, Flail, and Splash, and it doesn't really get to use any of those moves against us since it is we're a ghost type. Anyway, yeah, so I caught a shiny Smoochum. I thought Smoochum was one of the most disgusting looking Pokemon in the game. Like, I kind of liked Jinx because Jinx looked cool in Pokemon Stadium, and I loved its fainting animation where the body just disappeared and all that was left was its wig. But beyond that, I did not mind Jinx, but for some reason I have and will always dislike Smoochum. If it's your cup of tea, power to you, man. I think our Joy-Con has turned back on. Nope, stop it. All right, that should have turned our Joy-Cons back off for a little bit. Not sure why that keeps happening, but my Joy-Cons go rogue and just decide, okay, time to drift. Anyway, I've noticed that I do that a lot. I say anyway, every time my brain has to like partition a thought. And then it basically is my equivalent of buying time until I remember what I'm trying to say, but it frustrates me that I keep saying it, you know? When you have those ums and uhs that you wish you could leave behind, and you just can't help but use them because we as a people hate silence. We use those filler words to fill those blanks until we can catch our thoughts. But there's no harm in just being quiet until you have your thought, and it sounds so much more eloquent to speak that way. I'm going to try and train myself to go back into that. I used to be really, really good at holding my ums and ahs, and I think I went on a tangent about this in Celeste for a while too, like my goal of improvement, and I kind of let that fall to the wayside for a while, but maybe it's about time I start practicing that a bit more.
You need to have more respect for a grown-up.
He looks really sad, actually. Look, I will not have respect for a grown-up who plays sexy music to a 10-year-old. We got some serious stranger danger from you. Dr. Footstep's house. Footprints reveal all. That doesn't sound weird at all. Alright, hi, dude.
Pokemon are quite easy for me to read. I need only see their footprints, and their innermost thoughts are revealed to me. Oh, you are skeptical of my claim? Then let your Haunter walk in front of me right here. From its
Haunter does not have feet. Haunter cannot walk. It has the ability to levitate. What do you expect to happen here, sir?
From its footprints, I will determine how it feels about you.
So this is basically the friendship raider, I think.
Jeff treats me, Star Gecko, nicely without being scared. But I will be even scarier from now on. That's just what we Haunter do. Haunter doesn't leave any footprints. It's somewhat difficult for me to determine what its thoughts are.
Then what was it you just said? Alright, that was interesting though. I appreciate that it had some custom dialogue for Haunter. Alright, here. This guy technically has feet. He has like some sort of like pseudopods, right? All right, what have you got to say about Manny the Dude Buster? What have you got to say about him? Let's see.
Not for a moment did I think I would be traveling with a human. If my Gastrodon friends were to see me now, they would be shocked. Or would they be envious of me?
How do you have Gastrodon friends? You grew up in an area where only Shellos existed. Well, no matter. All right, Star Gecko, back to the front of the party. Let's keep moving along. Anyway, so what can I say? What can I say more about Gen 2? Maybe I've exhausted Gen 2 a little bit, but I love the design of Crobat. I love the design of Mischievous. Steelix, oh, Steelix was so cool when it was revealed, and I mean, everyone and their mom loved Caesar. Okay, maybe not their moms, but maybe their dads. Once again, appealing to that edgelord child that Kid Jeff was.
Let me demonstrate my technique. It's how this grown-up battles.
Who else? I think we're good. Right, I was going to talk about the legendary dogs and then went on a tangent. So, love Entei's design. I thought Entei's design was, of the 3 legendary dogs, I would say aesthetic-wise, Entei was my favorite. Suicune competitively, battle-wise, and overall, like, personality-wise, I guess, because of how it was portrayed in Crystal version was my favorite. Let me out. You could have Dark-type moves. I think we still kill with a Thunderbolt given our level, though. We'll definitely outspeed, so I think we're fine. Yeah, Suicune is always going to be my favorite to use in a party. Entei was the coolest to look at, and Raikou was my least favorite hands down, even though history and competitive, Raikou was actually kind of a pretty serious threat. It replaced Zapdos for a while in competitive teams, Zapdos being this specially defensive, specially offensive, relatively fast enough Pokemon with decent bulk. It was a right menace back in Gen 1 competitive days to my understanding. Granted, I never really experienced that in its full force. I'm gonna let go of Tackle for the sake of getting Fire Spin. We have 3 fire moves, but that's how casual Pokemon runs go, you know? You just stack up multiple types of the same move. We'd never do that in competitive, right? Never.
That's how you attack? Pshaw. Pshaw.
How do you even voice that line? Pshaw. Like, I guess I could voice it in a way that probably would not be picked up on my microphone, I guess is the answer to that question. I have a gate on my microphone that blocks sounds below a certain threshold, and a lot of those like one-off little humph or harumph sort of sounds get blocked out, unfortunately. Any super breathy voice especially just does not exist in my microphone's perception.
There's something on top of this big cliff here. My instincts tell me that, but how am I supposed to climb up?
You get a Sneasler. We're not going to talk about Sneasler, because apparently Sneasler is an absolute terror and competitive right now, and I hate its design. It looks so wrong. It's everything that I have. It's every problem that I have with Inteleon, the final form of Sobble. But that's a rant for another day, Kiwi. That's a rant for another day. The rant for today is, I really, for some reason, just hated Raikou. I just did not think it looked cool. I did not think it was strong. I was wrong. I mean, now it's fallen off, and Suicune's probably the best of the 3 legendary dogs in terms of competitive viability for the higher tiers, if any. Even it has fallen off because there are just so many good tanky water type options nowadays. Pure water types are very competitively valuable because they do not have a lot of weaknesses. It's grass, it's electric, and it's frostbite, no, freeze dry, which is an ice type move that's super effective against water types, which I think is a really cool idea to have these like moves that are typically resisted have some reason to be super effective against a specific type. It's a cool secondary effect that I'd love to see more of. Footprints are left in the sand when you walk on the beach. Pokemon seem to enjoy leaving footprints as much as people.
It's a long way from Veilstone. I'm exhausted.
But, man, I don't know why I gave Raikou so much hate. Nowadays, I think it looks fine. I think maybe it's just the whiskers and the weird cloud mustache it has that just did not vibe with Kid Jeff. I think that's probably the reason if I'm looking deep within to find answers for myself.
My brother's girlfriend is the massage girl in Veilstone City.
Does she have a name?
They take strolls with their Pokemon whenever they get together. It really helps them stay close.
Howdy there. Let me examine your Pokemon to see if it's worthy of a scarf. I see. This isn't what I hope to see. I can't lie to you, so I'll just have to tell it to you straight. This Pokemon's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just so-so. If you want to improve this Pokemon's conditions, feed it some more Poffins.
Alright, I'll force feed my Pokemon later. I like that you have a Pachirisu. To Parisu. Alright. Parasol girl, do you have a fight in you? You do not.
You're just like a totally impatient boy I met earlier. Just like you, he was very close with his Pokemon. Hey, thanks for making me smile. These might put a smile on your face. They're Fire Stickers B. Place them on a ball capsule.
All right. I think this might be the Great Marsh here, but I'm not sure. Yep, Pastoria Great Marsh, Observatory Gate.
This is so annoying. What is it? Oh, some kid with only 3 gym badges? Little twerps like you should know to stay out of the Team Little twerps like you should know to stay out of Team Galactic's way. Now this package from Veilstone, where should I set it off? Yup, this is going to be a smashing job for Team Galactic.
Sounds like a bomb. Probably isn't a bomb, but sounds like a bomb.
Some trainers deliberately prevent their Pokemon from evolving. They wait until the Pokemon levels up and learn certain moves.
That is something that was particularly notable back in Gen 1 and Gen 2 with or any generation that has stone-based evolutions. It was always more viable to let the base stage Pokemon exist for a while because typically the evolved Pokemon either don't learn certain moves or learn them way later at a higher level. It's a good way of kind of not risk reward, but balancing the immediate benefit of evolving by having higher stats and potentially a stronger ability with the lack of move pool. And sometimes it doesn't matter how good your Pokemon is, if its learn set is crap, it's not gonna do much for you. Like having a fully evolved Raichu that only knows Thunder Shock, I'd rather just get a Pikachu that knows Thunder, you know? Get ourselves a nice little stack of berries here. I guess real quick, I'll do a quick tangent on the legendary birds since we talk about the legendary dogs. Back then, Zapdos, that's who it was. That's who was the final member of my Gen 1 team. I had Jolt Jeff and I had Zap Jeff. I remember now. I had a Zapdos on my my Gen 1 casual team. I named it Zap Jeff. That brings, okay, that, I thought, currently now, of the 3 birds, Zapdos remains to be the hands down best bird overall, and we're not looking at the Galarian variants, or what, I forget what gen they were, maybe it was Scarlet and Violet, they got variants, I forget which, but We're just talking about the original legendary birds.
Pastoria's Great Marsh was once part of the sea. The seawater drained away over time, leaving the huge marshland. That's why they say there are rare Pokemon that you can only see here.
The Great Marsh is vast. How vast is it, you ask? Take a look from the observatory and you can see for yourself.
I'm starting to lose my voice, so I do think this is the last episode of Pokemon we're going to record for the day, and then I'm going to do some surprise dishes so that when Kiwi wakes up, our kitchen's a little bit cleaner. We still have the mess from Thanksgiving to tidy up after all.
I derive so much pleasure from record mixing with others. It shows me that I'm not alone. It heartens me to a great deal.
We're not going to engage with that mechanic at all, although I might use Kiwi a little bit to help evolve, or use Kiwi's save file, rather, not use Kiwi, to evolve Graveler and Haunter eventually, assuming they make it long enough to actually be viable to do so. Anyway, so Zapdos, hands down favorite for battling, Articuno favorite for aesthetic. I am Team Mystic, proud and true in Pokemon Go, and will never change that thought. I like the idea of researching Pokemon a lot more than I like the idea of battling them. Like, I always loved the idea of like researching and developing strategies for competitive, honestly more than the actual battling itself, although it is really fun to litmus test them, I will admit that.
In the Great Marsh, they use quick trams on rails for transportation.
They prevent damage to the Great Marsh's ecosystem.
That's a cool little world building tidbit, I like that. And then Moltres. Moltres has always been my least favorite for multiple reasons. Competitive viability gets completely rocked by Stealth Rock.
Pastoria's gym leader is like breathtaking in a weird way. It's hard to explain, you'll know what I mean though.
I guess we'll save the gym for next episode. This is surprisingly faster progress than we've made in most other episodes, I would say, Kiwi. We're already onto a new gym. Anyway, I did it again, oops. So yeah, Moltres is definitely my least favorite from a competitive and aesthetic viability. Like, I love the Phoenix design, and I thought it was really cool accidentally finding it in Gen 1 in Victory Road on the way to the Elite Four. But beyond that, its move pool was disappointing. Its stats are okay-ish for a legendary bird, though it fails in comparison to the Zapdos, although I suppose Articuno is much worse off in that regard. Anything Ice type is going to have a horrible time because Rock type moves are so prevalent. Fighting type moves can show up, and even if you resisted from your Flying type Rock, it just did not have good defense profile. But yeah, Zapdos is a clear winner for me in terms of who was my favorite. I would run Drill Peck and Thunder and just have a grand time with it.
When you're walking on the bog, you sometimes sink right in. I get so flustered trying to get out. I have no luck catching anything. Use a pair of binoculars to look out over the Great Marsh. You can see what kinds of Pokemon can be caught and where they are. Tell me I'm not imagining this. The Great Marsh's Pokemon seem to be different from the ones yesterday.
There are shuttle trains in the marsh called quick trams. You should take those if you're going to a deeper area in the marsh.
Anyway, Kiwi, I think that's enough rambling. I need to give my voice a rest. It's rather sore, so we're gonna go make some nice warm tea with honey and lemon. I think I'm going peach flavor today. With all that said, Kiwi, I hope if you're awake, this is helping you fall asleep, and if you're watching, you're enjoying. Let's redo that. Kiwi, I hope if you're watching this, you're enjoying it, and if you're awake, I hope it's helping you fall asleep. If you're asleep, I hope you're sleeping well. I love you, and I will see you in the next one.